All right, welcome to our Fire Up Weekly Wednesday webinar, sponsored by Newfields Ag, where we bring innovation to your fields. We encourage you to visit our full-service website at newfieldsag.com, where you will find a complete listing of Newfields Ag products, product descriptions and videos, use and application instructions, contact information for your local dealer, pricing, and much, much more. Thanks to each of you for registering and joining us today. If you have a question during the presentation, please place your question in the chat box or simply raise your hand and we will get it asked. I'm your host, Bob Kessler with Newfields Ag. Today's focus will be on our Growthful product, and we want to talk about the Growthful as more than just a soil amendment and all the things that Growthful can do in your operation. Joining us to share their expertise this morning is Mike Skinner, and Mike is the Vice President of Sales with Aqueous. Michael, welcome and thank you for joining us this morning. You've got the presentation. Thank you.
Pleasure to be here, Bob and Brian and Michael. Been working with you guys quite a while, and we're excited. You guys have a wonderful company, and it's a pleasure to present to you and some of the guys and ladies out there. I sort of wanted to get an idea before I started. Do you think everyone on the call, because I can't see everyone on the call, has heard of us, or do I need to give a little details around there? What do you think?
You can give a short information on your company and then get into it. Sure.
Okay. Well, if you haven't heard from us, we're a fairly unique company. We're out of Michigan, really a 10-year-old startup that's really been in the agricultural side of this for 5 years. We have a variety of different verticals, from medical to personal care to sanitation and so on and so forth. But it's all based on a single molecule that we discovered about 12 years ago and patented. We have 36 patents around this molecule that are in a variety of different industries, with a couple in the agricultural side. And they're all based on hydrogen. So, I encourage people. I'm going to try to talk more farmer than really technical today. I think the people that are on the call want to see how it helps them and helps farmers make money. So that's where we're going to concentrate today. But I'm more than available to take on any harder questions or back it down a little bit. So feel free to jump in, and I'll provide you more. But we're on about 400,000 acres right now. We're in about 21 states. We're registered in every state except Oregon. Now we got our California registrations out of the way this past year. And, we're just seeing already this year, our business is 3 times what it was last year. So people like us. We have about a 95% reorder rate, and I'm going to tell you why they're doing that today. So one of the things that we are very focused on is regenerative agriculture. It's all about the soil, and I think that's why us and Lomu Tech Newfields Ag sort of got together in the beginning. I met Michael Musselman at a show, and we started talking, and we've seen there was a lot of balances in what we do. So I'm going to start talking about what Growthful, that's our brand name, does, and the benefits you see and why it works. So like other companies, we improve nutrient uptake, increase N and P, and we have a beneficial relationships with the humates and biologicals, which we'll talk about in more detail as we go forward. The chemistry, not moving slides here. Okay, so let me explain sort of why the chemistry is different. So I'm assuming everyone here knows what H2 is, and it's hydrogen and oxygen. H3O is where one in about every 480 million drops, a hydrogen molecule gets attached to a water molecule, and it has an unbalanced positive charge. So that's H3O. That's hydronium. It's a recognized chemistry out there. And just to go back, I'm going to talk a lot about hydrogen and a lot about carbonic acids in this presentation here today. And if you think about hydrogen, from the beginning of time, from the Big Bang Theory, hydrogen bombs plays an important role, in life. And I really think that if we would have discovered this stabilized chemistry, um, if we would have discovered it many years ago, I think it would be HNPK, not just NPK. So if we take that H3O molecule and take it to the second order bonding, and this is getting into chemistry a little bit, what we do is we've been recognized by multiple universities with H9O4. So we're putting a bunch of hydrogen out there, and you get four. But at Texas A&M, they've got us at H21O10. So what we're saying right here is typically hydrogen, because it's unbalanced, it just comes off and goes and finds something to attach to, but ours is stabilized. So when we apply H2O into, a field or into your blend that you're putting on to help grow crops, we're bringing a lot of extra hydrogen, billions of extra hydrogen molecules to, improve that charge and create charge imbalance. It's been a hard time changing slides here. I don't know why. Okay, to do it a different way. So when I talked about the active ingredient, we have no NPK. We help improve soils by putting those positive ions in there, and in doing that, we create a solution called carbonic acid, and that's really where we found out our magic is. For the first 3 years of us being in business, we looked and we saw yield results. Our yield results are typically, 10 to 15% by applying our soil products, and we do the full soil and foliar program, usually a little bit more. But we brought on we have 3 agronomists, field agronomists, but we brought on a soil scientist at the beginning of last year and really start to do some studies. And now we can sort of explain why it works and why we think you guys should use it in the field. That does everyone here know what hydrolysis is? Or are we all on mute?
Yes. Yep, we're good.
Okay. So, when water goes into, when people water their fields, really they're putting water on it, and there's the CO2 in the soil, and that forms carbonic acid, and carbonic acid is really what attracts the nutrient minerals that are tied up in carbonates or bicarbonates. And when you look at typical water, and that's why water is so important, that we see that reaction, and what that does is it makes it available to the plant to take in, and at the same time we do that that's a plant's function. So when you look at what plants do, they use photosynthesis as their key energy source to be able to help the plant grow in many other functions. And one of those functions is to create this carbonic acid. And that carbonic acid goes out and extrudes through the roots and really goes out to help get the nutrients with that charge gradient that makes nutrients available for the plants to be able to make nutrient and organic matter smaller, and it really does it through the nutrient ligand exchange bond. So we'll talk more about the proton pump here in a minute. But so rather than the plant solely having to do that function, that we're doing that outside the plant and the soil. So if we do that, the plant saves on its energy expenditure and can use it towards actually growing. So and this is how they work. So we got a few pictures here that I'll take you through. The protein pump, if you're familiar with it, it's basically the pipe that plant goes through the cellular wall, and where hydrogen and P and H and a lot of the other organic matters go. And this is really how carbonic acid formation through hydrolysis, when those water molecules break up, it separates those different types of positive charges and goes out and get the nutrients it needs to come in. So it establishes a charge gradient that allows both carbonic acids to come out of the plant, but also the plant to take in nutrients. And so that's what we see here in this photo. So for the guys that have used our product, we have, and I'll show you more. We have 3 or 4 products, and so far I've only talked about our soil products. We have 2 soil products. One's Growthful Pre-Emerge, and one is Growthful Pre-Emerge Max. And Max is one that's targeted at harder compacted surfaces where there's clay, and more challenges getting some of the tied up carbonates out of the ground and bring them to the plant. So through that proton pump, that extra hydrogen molecules that are, go to the root and get the negative charges in the rhizosphere. So we're increasing the soil when we're breaking that soil up. So that organic matter frees up where the plants can take them in for its food to grow the plant. And on the other side, we're also breaking up the soil, so the soil becomes less compacted and allows, if you're fertilizing and putting fertility products, it's not running off. So there's a double bang there. And by doing that, once again, I just got to say that acidifying the rhizosphere gets us to where plants conserve energy, and if they can conserve energy, they can put more of that function into growing their leaves and their fruits and their vegetables. So, the same thing, I talked about our 2 soil products, but we also have Growthful Post-Emerge, and we have that same, just like the roots extrude different acids to go out and do it. The leaves also have the stomates in there where when you put a regular fungicide or something on, they tend to, because they're organic matter, they tend to make the leaves, shiver up. And ours is an inorganic matter. And what we mean by that is, with our inorganic chemistry, unlike organics, we're not susceptible to resistance like you see in a lot of fungicides and pesticides. The plant can't figure out how to sort of adapt to get around us. And as you all know, everyone changes fertilizers and fungicides and pesticides on a regular basis. By adding our product at small amounts, typically 12.8 ounces to that full or fungicide, that we provide another mode of action and actually can enter the stomates and create that same carbonic acid effect that I've been talking about for the last 10 minutes or so. This is a pretty complicated slide, and really what I wanted to do is get through a few more slides and then open it up more to questions and answers, because I hate being a one-sided person here. I want to give you enough to start a conversation, because I think most of these that I do, people want to ask questions on how it's used and where it's used. So but you can see here, on the top left where the stomate opens and how we actually improve, drought stress and pathogen attacks. I think most of the people have heard a little bit about aqueous, and we are a low pH product that our products, when we manufacture them, they're as close to 0 pH as they can be. And as we get out in the fields, they're typically 2 to 3%, and as they're as we add water to them, they're somewhere in between 6 and 3. And the idea is that we act as a buffer. So if you're in an acidic salt or an acidic soil, or if you're in an alkaline soil where you're going the other way, that we sort of balance that, where the nutrients become more available somewhere between 4.8 and 5.8 on the pH scale. And this provides a little insight there. So I think we hear a lot of talk about pH ranges nowadays. I think it's when you're talking about the soil, I think everyone's starting to understand the importance of pH, and that where we see us really helping is that at the lower pH, we break up carbonates and liberate a lot of the nutrients. And some that were found is, with phosphorus or iron or magnesium or zinc, that they can all be tied up by ligand bonds, and that's where acids like ours come into play. And as a what we would consider a weaker acid, that the acid doesn't just go away. When you go back to those first slides where there's all those hydrogen molecules and the way the molecule is set up, with a regular sulfuric or phosphoric or other kinds of acid, what happens and why they're so harmful and ours is safe is that as soon as they touch, any other liquid or surface, that they release their positive charge that protons, and they do it all at one time. They shoot their whole wad. And ours is something where it comes out over time, and we slowly release that, and that's how we break up those ligand bonds and are able to get more of the minerals that we're seeking out into the plant. We know there's, probably 70%, and we hear it. I don't know, who knows, 70% they say phosphorus out there, and people are very liberal and they're fertilizing to try to make sure they're getting on enough. And we've done quite a few tests now where people have cut back their fertilizing programs up to 15%, and we've seen as good or better results using our product, and they can reduce their costs there. This is where it starts to get a little bit crazy, and I don't know if we all want to jump into this. This gets into chemistry. I think, as a summary, that are most of the guys out here using humates that we're talking to? Bob, a lot of humic acids going out there?
I think that space is growing. Just like the biological space, I think fulvics and humics are increasing in use.
I would assume that they're not using a humic.
You'd assume that they're not?
Right. Or just starting.
Yeah. And that's sort of where I just wanted to touch on that, everything I've talked about is in traditional soil, but we're seeing more and more people that are adding humates and biologicals into their mixes. I think that a lot of the people that we're dealing with nowadays are concentrating on the soils and regenerative portion. So as those two become a bigger component, that, like, humics are pretty expensive and you're not always sure what you're getting. And now our data's coming back that I was talking to a farmer yesterday putting on 7 pounds per acre, and that's a lot of money. That's $8-9 a pound, and what we've been able to do through, and you can sort of see it in here, it induces activity and modifies those humic molecules the same way I'm talking about it, to break up that organic matter quicker. We help the humics work. And on the biological level, when you're dealing with living cells and stuff, for years we were talking about challenges with them getting too high in pH. They start getting a little too active for some of the manufacturers of those. And by adding ours in there, we can keep that pH down so they don't get too active before they're applied. And a lot of guys are using us as as part of those mixes as a pH down. If you're looking at chitin, I don't know, maybe some of your guys are using fish products or others to improve soils. That chitin is one of those that really goes up to the top, and they've had some problems mixing it where it sort of turns into sort of like cereal or oatmeal. And by putting ours in, we keep that formula very, very clean. Actually, I'll talk a little bit more when we go to the results, that we're doing a lot of business in the sugar beet industry, and that's really picked up. Our sales are triple what they were last year at this time, and a lot of it, we're doing a lot more sugar and getting on the alfalfas and more corn. But on the sugar side, when they're doing sprays, they were using EBDCs, and EBDCs, like the biologicals, can clog up tips and screens. And as an acidic product, we provide a way to keep that liquid very mobile and fluid, so you're not messing with any of your equipment. I think I sort of talked through this portion of the, on the soil side, we improve the uptake and osmosis, and on the stress side, we've just found that by using our foliar sprays that the plants are better, healthier, longer. When we're trying to fill pods or fill kernels, we've increased specimen mass. And on beans, a lot of times what we're seeing, we had a farmer last year add it was after R5, and right, and actually it was end of September, beginning of October, and he did a quick spray, and he had 200 acres, and he did 100 with ours and 100 without, and he had a 9.2 bushel pop in what he saw, and it was all due to bean fills. He wasn't adding any more beans, but giving a little longer to fill really proved to be very valuable. So a couple more slides, and then I can go to results, but I'd like to really open it up to conversation, because I found if I'm doing a monologue here, I might not be hitting what everybody's looking for. I'd prefer some conversation. So, with Growthful hydronium, hydrogen is one of, the 5 key chemistries that are out there. When you look at hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, phosphorus, and I leave out there, that it's essential, and we bring hydrogen to soils, and there's never been anyone else that's brought stabilized hydrogen. So it really is different. It's crop safe. It's it's super donating of hydrogen, so you free up nutrients in the soil, and it stimulates that root. And all our, we have a greenhouse, and we do lots of tests every year, and the controls never catch up to where we're using our products. It just doesn't happen. So, it accelerates that photosynthesis of the plants, the usage of that energy, because we're doing a lot of the work outside the plant and the soil. And, as a low pH product, we're balanced. You don't have to worry if your soils are already pretty low in pH, that we're not going to hurt that. We're a buffer. And the resistance part, because it's a low acid, we're not resistant to other chemicals. We've never found anything that we can't mix with too. We always suggest that you put our product in after the water, but we mix well with everything. So, I guess this
Michael?
is just the last. Yes.
We've got a question here from Andrew Musselman. Do you add aqueous to humic directly in the tank?
Yeah. Yes, we do.
And then Jared has a question. Go ahead, Jared.
Thank you, Bob. Michael, if you don't mind backing up a slide, I had a question for you about chlorophyll formation, the influence on chlorophyll. How is it necessarily driving that chlorophyll content? Specifically, I have a grower with a wheat concern, and I'm wondering if it's a magnesium deficiency because of how things are working with him. I saw chlorophyll content on here, and I wanted to ask you about that.
Yeah. Well, manganese is one of the organic matters that gets bound up, on a very regular basis. And just like the other ones that, it's really important. A lot of these micronutrients are available, and we know they're out there. So that's what we're doing. We are freeing that up, and that improves that. I got 2 stories on that. One is about a big farmer where we were having issues with tip burn and lettuce, and it was a calcium deficiency, and we don't have any calcium in our products, are very, 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 very little, I should say, not enough to put on the label. But we that after, this was a he's been using it now 4 years, and it's 800 acres, one of the larger lettuce growers in Michigan. And that, he was getting tip-borne, and he wasn't having problems with chlorophyll, and he started spraying it on, and now it goes in his tank with his regular fertility program every 10 days. Now, 2 years, he hasn't had any problems. Another gentleman who's a corn grower he had about 50 acres of his 1,300, where every year he had to, spray on manganese because they were yelling up, and I think for the same thing going on the leaves, and we say in the stomate that we're able to draw out some of those micronutrients that weren't available. Anything else?
Thank you, sir.
Did that answer your
Yeah.
question?
Well enough for now. Thank you.
Hey, and let me say that if you're really interested and you shoot me an email, that I on these types of presentations, it's I think some of you guys have met some of my agronomists and Michael Depew, and I'm trying to not get too technical to keep it more on the dealer farmer side. But if there's a specific question and you want to shoot me an email, I'll get you a written answer on that. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Um, and this was actually his program, and I don't want to really go into the functional groups because I can't talk to this enough, and I think it would be it's over my head a lot, but if we want to do this on a future type of conversation, we can get really deep into why all these things are happening, and is everyone familiar with carboxylic acids and carbonic acids? Can I ask that question? Could we go around and can people answer that for me?
Carbonic acid would be a root exudate from plants.
Correct. And do you think that's important to farmers out there, Richard? Do they understand that?
If they understand it, yes. If they don't understand it, then it's a non-issue.
Yeah, and that's sort of where we've really seen our success. If plants, if our sales are growing dramatically, because before, everyone could talk about yield bumps, and now we have a lot of years in a row where we can sort of prove that with data. But when we sort of figured out that we're saving the plant energy, and if we can simplify that for farmers and say, hey, plants, that's how they go out and get what they need, but they're using their photosynthesis energy, and if we can save them energy and do that outside the plant, that's going to help it. That seems to make sense to farmers. In that simple a term, do you think that's sellable to farmers?
Yeah, it basically means more nutrient availability. It's going to free things up that otherwise wouldn't be available, allowing the plant to conserve energy to maintain yield or whatever else.
And that's really the story. And if you look at what a lot of the big guys are selling out there, that they really can't talk and explain why they're doing it. And as we get into I think we get into the chemical conversations with some deep soil agronomists, that this is sort of a unique type of benefit that we can sell to farmers, and from a sales and helping them grow, that our soil applications, it's $2 or $3 to put it in furrow down, and the return is significant, no other labor cost, and you can see the minerals right there above the picture that we're seeing. We improve that cation exchange, and if we can with that acid-rich environment, really get things moving. I think that makes a lot of sense. So I'm going to flip down a few slides because like I said, we're going to, we can, this is a little bit, I think, too deep on, interphase, and you'll see that some of these slides are more for the agronomy guys. But I'm going to talk a little bit about results. I'm
Mike.
flipping through go ahead.
Just a second, Mike, before you get into that, does this replace water pH adjusters?
It definitely can. Yes, we have 3 or 4 companies right now that use us in their manufacturing of products as a pH down. We are working, when you talk about water, that like beyond the agricultural industry, now we've, because of what we're doing to soil, we have come out with the tree, shrubs, and ornamental product. And we also have, a product that's for fungal growth, and we're doing a lot of mushrooms. And that really what they're doing in the horticulture world, in a lot of these greenhouses, they're using sulfuric acids to bring down that pH and break up that bicarbonate before it goes into the soil where their plants plants are growing, and they're usually potted. And we're getting to the end of a first year of some big trials replacing sulfuric as a pH down. And instead of trying to treat the bicarbonates in the water, we're treating them in the soil. And because that's the end goal. It's sort of like, if you're going to Home Depot to buy a drill bit, what are you really trying to do? You're trying to drill a hole. And if you could just drill a hole, you didn't need the bit. And we believe that we can break up those bicarbonates in the soil without, having to use sulfuric to treat them in the water. So that's something you'll be hearing about over the next 2 years. We're spending a lot of money and time and data to really get our formulas down to see where and how we can impact water pH. I can tell you right now on all out pivots, it's probably not a solution, but on, low pressure pivots and things like that, or fertigation versus chemigation, we're probably a lot more effective. Make sense?
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Mike.
Like I said, I'm going to go back. I'm going to go flip through some of this, and I sent this to Michael and Bob, and if he wants to share it with the guys, and if you want to get into, really deep into the chemistry, I'd have to bring Michael Depew on. But so the EH-pH relationship and how we impact a lot of living things down in the soil has really become the talk. So from a product point of view, that these are the 4 products that we're really selling a lot of. So the Growthful pre-emerge, which is we're using an in-furrow, and that goes at a pint. If you're doing in-furrow, if you're doing 2x2 a quart. And if you're using a boom sprayer or banding, going in with the herbicide or fertilizers, 1 or 2 gallon, depending on the soil there. And then on the Growthful Max, which is to the right and covered up a little if you're seeing my screen, because that's for if you're running into, like we had some farmers down in Arizona that were doing potatoes, and they couldn't get their planter through at more than 1 mile per hour. And they put 4 gallons of our Max down at burn down. And 2 weeks later, they were driving through at 3 or 4 miles per hour. And they were seeing, their fertility applications going into the ground and not running off. And it's a really good one for compacted soils, and we see that where there's no till, and you know, we're starting to get that carbonate buildup. So Max works really good there. Our Growthful post-emerge, we recommend that. And you know what we found, and you know, I've shared, and Lomutech or Newfields has the drop box, but you know, we have our recommended doses, and we're recommending programs that sort of incorporate all these in under different circumstances. The Growthful post-emerge spray is 12.8 ounces in your tank, and you mix it with 10 gallons. And you know, on sugar beets, and you know, I don't know if you guys run into some tar spot now. Starting to see some of that. If you are,
Yeah, a lot of tar spot coming across, especially through Iowa. Yep.
well, you know, we make no kill claims, but I can tell you that, you know, I said we're a low pH and we're a different mode of action, and we have resistance, and we're getting data back from Michigan State and from our farmers that adding this in, you know, as a preventative portion of your tar spot makes a whole lot of sense right there. And it's relatively expensive, and you know, the challenges and the cost of if it starts to, you know, you can lose most of your crop. And so we're seeing a lot of use there. You know, on beans, I've already talked about how we, you know, improve pod fills there. So I would really consider that, start talking about it in that light. And tree shrubs and ornamentals, you know, we're doing a lot on fruit trees, and, you know, really landscaping a lot in that area too. I think I had this earlier that, you know, we buffer soil changes. There's no added cost, you know, it's non-flammable. It's safe. You know, that's one of the things I think most of the guys on this have seen me put a 0 pH on my hand and put it in my mouth. And, you know, it works well with pretty much everything that you have out there. You know, on the potato side, I think I got a few slides here. I guess we're going to, the slide's wrong, but this is where we first got going. Mid-Michigan Agronomy did the trials, and that's supposed to say 46,000 pounds, not tons. That would be a little too much there. I'm sorry, I made a mistake there. But what we started off is trying to see, you know, these were sprayed 9 times, and we realized nobody's going to spray a lot of these crops 9 times. But you can see the results we had, and I think it's encouraging some farmers to spray more. But what we did is we started really trying to fine tune and see where we were at if we brought it down. So the return on investment here was still, you know, $1,035. You know, if you're looking at things, you know, with 9 sprays, but we know most people aren't going to do that. So, you know, what we really started doing is looking. You know, the last 2 years have gone into, you know, when do we use it and how do we use it? And so, like Dennis Gardner, you know, he's a master grower up here that he just did an infurrow up there and had 2 bushels more beans. You know, 2 bushels, and it costs us about $2. On Fowler Farms, he's a high yield farmer, and he did the soil. He did you know, the infurrow, and then right 10 days before black layer, you know, he wanted to drive nutrient into, and he did another layer. And what we really found interesting here was the test weight improvement, that we saw a huge growth in test weight. We're going to try to reestablish this one. This is a 1-year test, but, you know, he got you know, a few pounds more corn, but the test weight really brought up the value of the application. On sugar, you guys, most of you heard me talk about sugar at one time, but Michigan Sugar, we've been working with them, and they've been doing tests for us for 3 years, and we've averaged with them. I think this year it was 900 pounds of raw sugar. I think over the 3 years we averaged 700 pounds of raw sugar. So their average improvement was $97 an acre. We brought Doug Ruppel, who's here with me today. we're really hitting the sugar beet markets up in North Dakota and everywhere we can. This is where we're getting all the referrals. It's really starting to the word's getting around. That for less than it was for 3 applications it was $15 and we saw 917-pound improvement with 3 applications. So we were the raw sugar was a 21% improvement over the checks. And what was really interesting here is the purity of the sugar was 4.4% higher. Even when we did just the soil application, we had a 518 pounds. That's, a $2 application. They had 518 pounds and, at about 19 cents a pound, it's a pretty good return on investment. We don't make any claims, but we've done 3 years of study with Michigan State on Cercospora, and we've done it just us with no other fungicides or other products, and we were as good as better all 3 years on that. Jamie Wilbur, who runs that program now, is looking at trying to beat the Cercospora in the soils, and we're engaging with her with more treatments on it this year. So an added benefit to what we do in breaking up the with our carbonic acid and freeing up nutrients is that at a low pH we keep down some potential growth of diseases there. This is typical root stuff. The rest is, the presentation is sugar or pictures, but we were just pulling these. This wasn't even a root test. We were just doing these in our greenhouse, and we were pulling them out, and we're almost finished pulling out the controls that you see to your left, and we started pulling out the ones that were treated, and this was just what would be similar to our in-furrow, and everyone had roots like this, so we had to take a few pictures of it. You can see the root developments. This is 14 days. Doing a lot with tomatoes right now, engaging with some big tomato growers out in Florida and in Michigan and now in California. Yeah, these are just where we come back. I think I can show you lots of pictures and I can go through these if you'd like, but I'd like to open it up to questions if you have any.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Let's open it to questions. We do have somebody with their hand up. Go ahead and ask your question.
Hi, this is Steve. Just wanted to check as to what the real values are for helping the any biological products that we would have, or any biology that's in the soil around the plants. How do these work together? Is there anything we need to be concerned about?
A great question. Probably the question I get asked most when I deal with people that are using biologicals in soils. And what we do is, first of all, there's no reason to be worried about it, that we work in that range. We're a buffer. So, like people are adding these actually into their biologicals before you get them, like in the chitin examples, to keep it down. But what we're actually doing is feeding those biologicals. So, those biologicals, when they come in, and I love, I think they're really help improve soil. So I'm glad you're moving in that direction, but that they still need to be fed. And if we're breaking up the compacted soils where those biologicals begin to grow, we help them grow faster. And if we can do that, they're going to grow more. I just happen to be flipping up here too, and the fungal component of growth is really important. And this was a shocker to me that one of our fastest growing lines, other than the trees, shrubs, and ornamentals, is that we started working with mushroom farms out in Pennsylvania, where they grow a whole lot of them, and it's turned into a big thing where we're treating their compost, when you're adding biologicals that beyond, improving the life in there, the fungal part of soil is really, really important. And we've seen 18 to 22% growth over a year regular. We've gone from doing a few houses to probably up to about 80 houses now that they're using us both in the compost and as a spray onto the mushroom. So it's similar to that biological question.
Thank you.
And then there's a question here from Dan. I could use the sugar beet info, Mike, and application rates as he works with some sugar guys up where you are.
Well, we have so much on sugar. Is that, do I have Dan, is that Dan Johnson or?
Yes. Yep.
Yep, that's me, Mike.
Dan, I don't know if you have my email address, but if you shoot it, I can get that over to you today.
Yep, we'll do it. Thank you.
Yeah, we really like, I mean, I'm so excited about sugar beets. That's, we've gotten referrals and they have 900 people in the co-op at Michigan Sugar, and they're very hesitant. That's why we're up here in North Dakota right now. They heard from what we're doing over here. They're hesitant to change some of their old formulas, but the farmers are getting it, and it's our biggest referral businesses in the sugar world right now. So I'm happy to send that to you.
Steve, did you have another question?
No, I don't know why that's still on there.
Okay.
I guess I have one for any of you guys. When you're going out there and after you're pushing dust and some of their other products, are you guys working with any people that are blending products, like they're making their own mixes and pushing them out to the farmers? Applicators that are sort of putting the biologicals together and whatever else they want to throw in. Are you seeing much of that activity in your areas?
I'm seeing a little bit more of that at the farm level, not so much at the retail level.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good point, Mike, because you're looking at, a product, if you buy this product from Newfields Ag in totes, you're looking at, what, a less than $1.50 to $3 an acre, where you could use it by itself, or like Mike is saying, you could put it in with something that you're already doing across the field, and it's a high performing, really low cost type of product.
And that's what most of them are doing, because it mixes well. We're not changing what they're doing. We're just making it better. I do have some slides here, Dan, on sugar. This is cane, and these guys own 190,000 acres. And I just got after a 2-year test, I just got a decent order from them that we tested. It's $1 billion company. And what we did is we went out and saw, we did what I told you. There's a program. We put it in their furrows, and we did one spray of foliar spray, and they cut back, and they use 15% less fertilizers here. And the results showed that we improved. I think it was the cane. It was 4.1. I sort of blocked it out with my thing right there, but I think the next screen might show it. But where we were without it, we were gained $280 per acre in net benefit. Where they were using it and they put ours, we still had 278. So with 15% less fertility products, we still got a benefit. So now they've ordered it and they're trying it in their 4 sectors under 4 different soils to see if we can get on their whole under 90,000. I'm pretty excited about that. And they saved their input costs. You can see here, they saved $55 by not using, by taking 15% of their input cost out. I think I talked about Failure Farms there. I think I have some more sugar stuff. I think the sugar stuff came out. So I have a lot more sugar stuff. I think I took it out of here, but we can. I'll shoot that off to anyone who wants it. Well, that's all I got. I'm happy to answer questions or talk in more detail. I mean, I could get a little more technical, but not too much more technical. Michael, I haven't heard anything from you.
Aaron, do you have another question?
I do. I'm pretty sure Michael's on the road today. We talk a lot. You've been talking about this as a liquid in furrow. What about as a side dress application on corn with like 28% potassium thiosulfate, ATS, things like that? If we were to do something like that, what would be the overall impact to the solution, and what would you advise for an application rate?
With a lot of our corn guys are doing it. I'm glad you said 28. We like 28 better than 32. What we're doing there is we're putting a quart in an acre, and it mixes well. We suggest you put it in, right in the beginning after you put any water in there, right in the beginning. And the benefit is sort of we help, the same thing when you're putting in that 28, you're going to see more effectiveness because we're breaking out some of the stuff in the molecules or in the carbonates that will help nitrogen work better.
Do you have any concern about using that with ammonium thiosulfate or potassium thiosulfate?
None. And who's asking this question, may I ask?
That was Jared.
Jared.
Okay. No, and on the ammonium sulfates and how we impact ammonia, maybe there was a slide in there that discusses that I jumped through.
Mike, if I can add to that, any issues with potassium acetate?
Nope. No challenges with potassium acetate.
Okay, thanks.
On another, and some of you guys like, maybe I didn't go deep enough, but Michael has a presentation on, how aluminum acetate, and he has something that sort of talks through that, but I can't jump into that now because I wouldn't do a good enough job on that. But I'm happy to, if you shoot me an email question, we will respond to some of those in writing if you'd like.
All right. Are there any other questions out there? Okay, good. Thanks, Mike. Again, we encourage you to visit our website at newfieldsag.com for complete product information and to find your local dealer at Newfields Ag Products and Services. Thank you for joining us today, everyone. As always, we hope to see you here next week when Newfields Ag presents our Fire Up Weekly Wednesday webinar with the week's topic being biostacks and the dust inclusion products. Be safe. Have a great rest of your week. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Mike.